Hello, welcome to MANATV viewers. Welcome to the show. Today we have Dr. Rajesh US, a thought leader and an author with over 15 years of experience in IT industry, worked with multinational companies like Sun Microsystems, Wipro Technologies, Accenture, Cisco, and a unicorn startup, CureFit. He comes with deep expertise in university relations and employer branding. During his journey, he has placed 50,000 students, India and globally. In today's episode, we're going to deliberate on an interesting topic called TalentScape. What does industry seek from students? Let's hear from Rajesh.
Thanks, Rupa. It's such a privilege to be as part of this show. You asked a very interesting question. What is the fundamental thing which industry looks at from a student, right? It goes on without saying the technical skills. But in today's context, where the technology is changing at a rapid pace, the dynamics of business are changing at a rapid pace, the expectation from the clients and consumers are changing. So it's no more just the technical skills, it's much more than that, right? In order to solve some of the real-time, real-world problems, the student have to have a multifold ability, which includes the critical thinking, the problem solving, creativity and innovation mindset, an openness to learn, flexibility and adaptability, having the right attitude, trying to have a great fitment in terms of the culture of an organization which they are applying for, the stewardship, and most importantly, passion.
Coming to flexibility and adaptability, these are again a personality developments. But what about stewardship and passion? These are not taught at campus. So can you elaborate more or throw some light on these subjects?
Right. So I will break it down into two parts. One is, first I will pick it up, first I'll pick the stewardship and the passion part of it. Stewardship is nothing but, acting with a sense of ownership. To give you an example, if any task is given to an employee, he or she has to take with a sense of belongingness to drive it till the closure.
Okay.
And while they're doing it, they have to do with utmost passion. Passion in a crude terminology, right? Doing with energy, enthusiasm, and with clarity. Your second question of flexibility and adaptability. In the real time, what happens is every organization have their offices and presence in multiple cities across India and across the globe, right? It's very, very important for a student to have that mindset that I would have that willingness to adapt myself, and I would be flexible to adopt to any of the work location which is given to me.
Okay.
Right? So here, though it is easy to say, but the challenge is, are you being mentally prepared to adopt to the new environment, new culture, new language, new food, and a different world altogether, right? So here your mental preparation is very important in terms of being flexible and adaptable in terms of the work location. The second aspect in terms of the expectation for being flexible and adaptable is that as the technology is changing at a rapid pace, the technology which is hot skill today might go obsolete the very next year next couple of months. So you should, as a student, you should have the mindset to adopt and embrace the new technologies. And eventually, here, in industry, there is a very popular saying, right? Everybody should come with a mindset that they would like to learn, unlearn, relearn. This becomes a very, that's a fundamental
mantra. Something called mantra of the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Learn, relearn, de-learn, unlearn, not de-learn. That's mantra of the industry, which I think adaptability is where it fits right. This mantra fits right.
That's right. Yeah.
So moving on to the next question, as you've already given more insights on the personality developments or what students should possess. Coming to my next question, there are emerging technologies every day. There are hundreds of technologies available with different companies working on different aspects. Now, what is the technology that students should focus on? How should they focus on?
Yeah. So, in fact, this is a very, very difficult question, right? Even people who have been there in the industry for about decade or even 2-3 decades, they still struggle to answer this question. What is the technology they have to embrace, right?
Yeah.
There is no one right answer to that. But at the same time, if any fresh talent who wanted to embark their journey into IT industry, there are 5 pillars, okay, when it comes to the technology aspect. One is the programming ability. One is an exposure to database, exposure to operating system, exposure to one of the cloud platform, because now in the last couple of years we are kind of the industry has completely moved to the cloud. So exposure and hands-on experience on cloud is of very, very important aspect. And the last one, which is an exposure to one of the latest and the greatest technology which is currently trending. It can be quantum computing, it can be a blockchain, it can be an RPA tools and all of that. Now I will go one level deeper when I say programming, right? And again, it's a broad range, right? Now the next question comes, which programming language, right? There is C, there is C++, there is C#, there is Python, Java,
yes,
and all of this, right? So here, what industry look when we talk about the programming is, do you have that analytical ability to understand the syntax and an algorithm and the flowchart in terms of how do you solve the problem, right? So fundamentally, it can be in any one of the programming language which is out there. Understand the syntax, understand the logic, understand how do you solve the problem.
Application
Yeah. Part of it, right? Now the second aspect is the database. Even in database you have MySQL, we have Cassandra, we have Elastic Search, MongoDB, and whole bunch of databases out there. Now here also the expectation is that understand how the database would work, right? Understand the syntax, understand some of the keywords in terms of how do you apply to that. Technically an environment in terms of how the database would work. Now the third important aspect is operating system. So we are living in a world where this operating system is kind of neglected or taken for granted, right? A lot of people don't pay attention till they get into the industry, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, we are using multiple operating system. To give you an example, Microsoft operating system, Windows is one of the best one, which there is a larger adoption, and there is Mac OS, and there is Linux platform, and of course there are on the mobile application part of this Android and all of that. So it's very, very important while we are, as a student, if you are preparing for programming, database, understand on what operating system this would run. How are you compiling certain things which would, as a software, how do you install, what is the core part of operating system and all of this. This plays a very, very important aspect. The next one is, as I told, exposure to a cloud platform where we have Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, we have Amazon Web Services,
AWS, yes.
Amazon Web Services. And understanding and exposure to this is very, very important. This will take you a long way. The last one is, as I told you, the emerging technology, which can be a robot process automation or a blockchain or any of the latest and the greatest technology. So with this 5 fundamental things, if you are prepared, by and large you are kind of prepared for the industry. Okay.
All right.
So while the industry folks clearly understand, a lot of things is not taught in the campus, and what industry is looking at is relatively different, but do students have the fundamentals in programming, database, operating system, and in the cloud space? Okay. If you have all of this, in a way you are industry ready. And of course, once you get into the organization, you go to a rigorous training. It can be a greenfield training, yes, or it can be any of the jumpstart training and all of that, and they will make you industry ready, right? But these are the 5 fundamental skills what we are looking at.
Thank you, Rajesh. The information which you gave it's pretty much needed to students to know the path that they're leading on to. So with this, we'll move on to the next question. With these insights, let's move on to the next question about capability. How students can build their capabilities real time.
Right. So, Rupa, this is a very, very interesting and a very tricky question, right? While few things happens while they are at college, right? Where the academics, which is out there on this academic syllabus, which has been taught by the professors,
Yes.
that is one avenue where students can get an understanding about the theoretical aspect of that. The second part is, thanks to our technology, there is enough and more content which is out there on the web through multiple learning portals like Coursera, even on the YouTube. There are a lot of free materials and all of that stuff is available. While this is there, you get a theoretical understanding about that. When it wants to build capability, right, you have to put all the aspects of stuff which you have learned into real-time practice.
Experiential.
In terms of experiential or putting into the application part
Yes.
of it. So here what happens is, how do you build, it's not a overnight thing where I would do something, some magic happens, right?
Yeah.
Here it's a journey a student which has to take. The first and a very important thing which I spoke about, focus on the learning series. Learning series in terms of from an industry expert. The moment if any of the industry leader who is working on a specific domain, on a specific industry, if they kind of give them the granular details of what would be a typical day at work, and how exactly certain technology can be used and put into practice, right? This would change your perspective from theoretical stuff to hearing right from the industry leader. Then comes the important aspect as, there are a whole bunch of things which is happening, right? In terms of tech talks done from an external forums, there is webinar, some of the expert sessions which is happening all over the place, right? Keep your eyes and ears open in terms of what's happening, because everybody would bring in some bit of deeper insights which is not available as part of their academics. Paying attention, first is your own self-paced learning, then hearing from the industry leader. The third aspect is keeping your eyes open on the tech talks and all of that. Now once you learn this, right, the good opportunity in today's generation, the millennials or the alpha students are getting that opportunity is, the industry is floating lot of contest, lot of hackathon, lot of innovation challenge. This is a great opportunity. One is, you are getting an exposure to solve some of the real-time problems. And how do you make use of the technology, right? Where you start from an ideation to building a prototype and bringing it to life, right? And solving the real-time problem. With this, you are able to build your capability in terms of critical thinking, in terms of problem solving, in terms of adopting the technology which you have learned and implementing that. So this becomes a very good opportunity where students can get their hands dirty and participate in any of this, and of course they get a good recognition and get incentivized in case if they happen to win. More importantly, the participation is very important, where they get to understand about the organization, about how do they go about solving it. The other important aspect is, as the world is moving, as you know, in 2011 we had the first unicorn startup, which was InMobi, and later, now as we speak today, we have about 90,000 startups. Everybody are working on some of the disruptive technologies, disruptive ideas and all of that. So there is a need for talent, need for novel ideas, need for disruptive ideas. For this, there are multiple avenues where the students can do a capstone project, or they could do a real-time project, right? What we typically call it as live projects, where the students would work on whatever technically the industry folks are working on. So this is available, just that students should take that effort to understand which organization, how do I apply, and all of that. Then comes the internship opportunity. Majority of the universities give the provision to do a summer internship, a spring internship for a period of 6 months and all of that. I would strongly recommend, instead of doing any of the project at campus, go do this project on the organization, where you would get used to, get an exposure to the teams, the industry, the domain, more importantly,
the technology they've learnt already.
Absolutely. And more importantly, you would understand the culture of the organization, you would learn to work with teams, and that gives you an immense exposure, right, which would technically make you an industry ready. And two other important soft aspects which I wanted to touch. Once you learn the technology, right, for you to ratify and to kind of validate that you really have the capability, there are a lot of certification programs industry would offer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it is globally recognized. If you look at Microsoft, or if you look at Cisco, VMware, all of these organizations, they run a certification
programs, yes,
on the specific skills, right?
Yes.
This would kind of validate what kind of capability which they have built, and they could
Yes.
literally showcase to the world.
Yes.
The other important aspect is the stewardship or leadership or communication. In order to gain all of this capability, right, the organization do a unique program called as a campus ambassador program, where students can nominate or kind of volunteer to be a campus ambassador for an organization.
Campus ambassador
For an organization.
Okay.
Where they would hear from an industry and they could take it back and amplify among the student community within their campus. By doing this, they will come out of the fear of being public speaking, or they would learn, subconsciously they will learn the leadership skills. They would understand some of the latest and the greatest technology, and thereby imparting and taking back to the community.
Oh.
So these are, of course, there are multiple avenues, and by and large, if we wanted to summarize, there are about 10-12 different avenues where the students would have, through which they will be able to build their capability.
Basically, knowing such avenues and then applying and then taking part will eventually help them to be in the right fit in any organization.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, while the student is ready with their skills, with their talents and adaptability and everything, so about the job opportunity now. So how is the trend look like pre-COVID and post-COVID? Can you share some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah. See, we are really living in exciting times where there is a lot of things happening, a lot of action which is happening in India and globally, which would also have a profound impact on talent. And during the COVID times, we have seen there have been 2 years, there have been a lot of talent war which was happening, where resignation was happening, the great resignation was happening.
Yeah.
People were looking the whole job aspects in a different angle altogether. The wellness came into picture.
Yes.
And they looked at what is an aspiration which they really wanted to do. With all of this changes which was happening, the world has moved to a different direction altogether. In the traditional approach, if somebody wants to get an opportunity, there was 3 avenues. In the traditional approach, where we had an on-campus, campus placements, then the off-campus placements, and through a vendor partner, what we call it as an assessment partner. Right? When I say typically an on-campus, where an organization would visit ABC college and they would conduct the assessment and eventually absorb talent. And off-campus is one where it is not restricted only to ABC college. They kind of go in a very agnostic manner, where any student, if they have the capability and meet the eligibility criteria, they could apply, and where the organization wanted to showcase themselves as an equal opportunity employer. Right? The third aspect is they would, because of the cost per hire as a challenge, industry-wide challenge, they would partner with an assessment partner. So technically they would source the student profiles and all of that, and they would conduct the assessment through which an organization would partner with them, and they would hire talent through that. So this was happening for a very, very long time.
Okay.
So starting from 2000 till 2018-19, this was being extensively followed.
Industry, that's how it
was been, right? In today's context, what is happening is there is a new age approach which has come. Thanks to COVID, thanks to work from home, work from anywhere, embracing the technology to a greater extent, where telecom industry has also played a significant role in this.
Yes.
We are already kind of moved to the 5G technology, where the internet speed is good, the streaming is good, and thanks to the computing power, right, where today, if you look at the processing speed of a laptop or even a smartphone, it's a massive, right?
Yes.
Through which we will be able to do a lot of things with this has also opened up a new avenues in terms of how they could get an opportunity. Right? And most importantly, the organization have accepted and they are open for different avenues where they could get the great talent. I would start with a very fundamental things, right? I mean, in today's context, if you currently look at the slide which is out there, right? There are different aspects, avenues which are out there. One is the employee referral. This is a great avenue because the organization endorse that in terms of the source of the profiles, what they get to be evaluated, employee referral is one of the strongest sourcing channels.
Yeah.
Right? If you know any employees working in the organization, I would strongly recommend you seek their help and ask the person to refer to the recruitment team.
Yes.
If they don't have any network, of course, the LinkedIn, thanks to LinkedIn, which is the world's largest professional network, search for their organization. There are people who have been part of it. Send them a request and share your profile. If they take an effort, you will be at a winning side. Right? The second aspect is all the organizations have an exclusive career portal. This is an underrated, underutilized opportunity which student is missing out. Spend some time on the career portal of an organization and search for what are some of the current openings which exist for a fresh talent.
Yes.
What in the industry terminology, we use it as a sourcing rec, where the students have to figure out and search the right job code and apply for that, right? Which is a very simpler and easiest one, and as I told you, this is an underutilized one. Then there will be a lot of career fairs which are happening, but I could see the NASSCOM Future Skills, they host a nationwide career fair. There are a lot of partners, right? If you look at Naukri or Monster or IM Jobs, they also host a lot of career fair. And with the skill development as a government initiatives, right? There are a lot of initiatives done by the government as well. That's a great avenue where you could apply for a job opportunity. Then there are a lot of new age portals like Internshala, QT and all of this, where the students can get an internship opportunity. Once they get an internship opportunity, based on their performance, there is a concept of a PPO, which is pre-placement offer. Based on the performance, the organization would extend a PPO to the students, right? Then
through the intern agency itself.
No, you would apply separately to an organization, and once you are part of, while you are doing internship, if you are able to contribute well and able to impress an organization, they will provide you the PPO, right? And there are as I told you, I spoke about the contest, the innovation challenge and all of this, right? Now a lot of organizations are scouting talent through a different avenue, which is through innovation challenge and the contest, the competitions and all of that. This is a gateway for students to get an interview opportunity for the organization. And technically this becomes one of the avenue for them, right? And there are few organizations where they are very specific about, do you have this specific technology capability?
Okay.
For example, if you are a student who have a deep expertise and the certification in UiPath or on any of the automation tools like Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and all of this, right? Which would, or let's consider a data visualization tool like Tableau or a Power BI, where this is a specific skill, right? Functionality skill.
Yes.
And if you have that, there are organizations which are willing to hire students who are already been trained on this latest technology.
Train and gain some experience.
So technically what I'm trying to say is a technology based skills which you have, which industry would look at, right? Then comes, there are few of the organization where they run the mentee and the mentor program. This is a great avenue for students to look into this and seek guidance from the mentor and eventually get an opportunity to work with an organization and eventually scope for avenues, right? See, in life, in the corporate world, you should learn how to navigate. You should explore, you should discover your own path. That is very, very important, right? And I've heard a lot of organizations where they come up with a concept called as a train, hire and deploy model, where technically an organization would come forward to train on a specific technology and eventually they can kind of hire them and deploy them on a real time. Okay, this is another avenue. One of the last, but not the least, is there are a lot of external communities, right? If you look at the GitHub, where there are a lot of techies who have been part of that, and a lot of organizations are also been actively part of it.
Yes.
There are a lot of open source projects which have been listed, lot of real-time projects which have been listed. If you are able to participate in the community work, and if you are able to do some bit of bug fixes, are able to contribute some patches and all of that, right? Naturally, you will get that visibility. That would kind of raise the eyeballs among the technology community, which
community.
would, and they would approach you, and they will be able to help you to provide an opportunity, job opportunity to be there, not just India and globally
as well.
So now, net, what I wanted to summarize that there is a world of opportunity. You just have to keep your eyes, ears open, and discover and explore and navigate.
Take that initiative to navigate yourself.
Yeah. Eventually, you have to paint your own picture.
True. Yeah,
right.
As rightly said. Yeah. With this, we'll move on to our next question. We get to read in newspapers or know through sources that some students are offered an compensation, but some students are offered some other. How is it different? Can you throw some light on the compensation and more on this? On the skills and talents that these students adapt or learn?
Okay. So if I wanted to rephrase this question, if I get it right. So there are students who are getting different compensation at a different band. Some of them are getting about 5-6 lakhs, some of them are getting 10-20 lakhs, and to an extent to going till crore, right? Why this is happening?
Yes.
Right? See, compensation is very, very important. No doubt goes on without saying. That is something which would kind of
working towards
reflects your success, reflect your capability, all of that. But one thing, my suggestion or recommendation to the student is, before you jump into the compensation, understand how the industry is operating. Okay, there are 3 parts to this. One is you would have a service-based organization, and you have a product-based organization, and there are startups. Okay, in the service-based organization, what happens is, typically these guys are driven by the client needs. They offer services and solution as per the customer's requirement. They help organization of all sizes to transform their business. The popular service-based organizations are Infosys, TCS, Wipro, Accentures of the world.
SaaS model.
Right? Yeah. So here, what is happening is, there is a certain bit of affordability an organization could invest on, because this works on a billing model where they provide the technology solution to the clients and they bill as per the talent utilization. Right? The next aspect what is out there in the industry is there are product-based organization. When I say product-based organization, these are the organization where they would create or build the product or application in advance before the clients approaches them.
Okay.
Okay. Once the product is made and application is developed and it is open to the market, the popular product-based organizations are Microsoft, are Cisco, and various other organizations. You can Google, Amazon, the Intels of the world, right?
Yes.
They develop and create and build their own products. Here what happens is, the reach and the revenue what they could earn from this product is way too high.
Okay.
And the expertise and the knowledge and the capabilities required to build this product is also higher. So there is an affordability here, and which would have, of course, it would have an impact on the revenue, profitability and all of that. Technically it is kind of distinguished from a capability standpoint and the kind of organization they are, right? The third aspect is the startups. The startups, the biggest advantage of the startups, to give you a picture about what exactly the startup, right? So in today's context, any business, where you would come up with an idea and you see there is a value add which you could be able to add to the community, and you would find a potential, it can be bootstrapped, doing it on your own, or you would find a VC partner who would invest on your idea, and you would be able to scale your idea. Okay. So in the startup space, startup space, the speed and stealth is of paramount importance, right? For here, the customer acquisition, the revenue, all of this becomes a very important for a venture capitalist or the investors or for the founders.
Yes.
So they want somebody, the kind of talent what they want in the startup space is somebody comes with, there is no structured approach, there is no blueprint. You are the one who would come with a disruptive idea. You will be able to challenge the status quo and you will be able to make a significant difference and able to come up with a disruptive idea and work on some of the greatest technology.
Okay.
So here the advantage is the organizations are willing to pay something called as an ESOP or an RSU, which is technically a restricted stock units.
Stocks.
Right, where once the organization grow, an employee would also benefit and there is a wealth creation which is happening.
Yes.
So that's where you would see that 50 lakhs or a crore kind of a compensation, which is at least 50% of which would be ESOPs.
Okay.
And there will be relocation, joining bonus, the education thing, all the frills which will be attached to that. So in short, if I wanted to summarize, there are in the IT industry, there is a service-based organization, there is a product-based organization, and there is a startup. Depending upon the student's aspiration, the capability, there is an opportunity to get a different compensation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next question, Rajesh. Now, what are the various roles available in the industry for a person to take up?
Okay, so here and again I will go back to which industry which you come from. If you are working on a service based industry, the nomenclature, the designation is very different, right? Many a times we get carried away with somebody is getting a very different title or startups offering a very fancy title and all of that, right? But net in terms of what exactly they do, right? In the large service based organization, one of the thing which is very prominent is a software engineer.
So, yeah.
Right, which goes on
basics to start off with.
Yeah,
yes.
Right? So where the person is responsible for development, implementation. And testing, maintenance and all of this.
Yes.
Technically a software engineer doing all of this.
Yes.
Then if you wanted to go break it down and slice it, there is an application developer, there is a test engineer. Okay. We would demarcate a test engineer separately. In the test engineer, there is a manual testing, automation testing, all of this is another important aspect. Now, if you look at, there is a massive penetration of mobile technology which has happened,
yes.
right? So now all the apps today, majority of the work which happens on our app, on our smartphones, right? So somebody has to build this, right? So an application, mobile application development is one of the very interesting role which exists. And for this, a student have to learn an Android Studio or iOS environment, a Swift, kind of a technology where they will be able to be a mobile application developer. Then there are cloud architects where somebody having an exposure to a cloud, there is a good, clear defined path in the cloud space. Right, and there is security is becoming a very interesting thing. Somebody having the experience and expertise in the cyber security or the information security. There is a designation which is called as an information security professionals. So then there is DevOps engineer, there is data science, there is data analyst, and there is last but not the least, there is a tech support roles. So there is a wide range of things. You have to understand what's your aspiration, what you are good at, what you wanted to pursue. It purely depends on the student.
On the student.
So my suggestion to the student is, from your first year, take that effort to understand different industry, different roles, and just do the self-assessment, what's your capability, and work towards that.
Where his interest and passion lies also.
Absolutely, yeah.
Somebody working on cyber, somebody working on mobile applications, somebody is in the software time. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's pretty fundamental and most important and very crucial question comes for the students to understand this from their stage 1 of college. Basically, the moment they enroll, and that's where they have to find. So that's very interesting, and You've answered rightly. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rajesh, on that. With industry exponentially growing, so what are the choices students have? It's also quite confusing on what choices they make. So in this service or a product or a startup, what is likely suitable to them? Can you explain on this?
So on a lighter note, in today's context, the students are spoiled with choices. And at the same time, it is also very challenging for students to take an informed decision, right? In the service-based organization, there are a whole bunch of organization. In the product space, there are a whole bunch of organization. In the startup, there are a whole bunch of organization. Now, there is very important aspects which I wanted to touch upon. There is a terminology called as employer branding. Okay. I'm very glad to say that I've published a book on employer branding.
Yeah, your expertise is more on employer branding. Yes,
absolutely. I mean, during my journey in various organizations, I've worked on the branding space, where primarily engaged with some of the great talent, and the intent was to primarily build excitement among the student community and position an organization as an employer of choice. So in the employer branding space, an organization would come up with certain initiatives where they wanted to share certain value proposition, that messaging they wanted to convey to the students so that they could take an informed decision. Okay. So primarily an organization will roll out a program where they wanted to build the excitement among the student community and help them to position themselves as an employer of choice.
As I've introduced, Rajesh expertise is in employer branding. Let's hear more from him on employer branding.
Okay, Apurupa, thank you so much. You brought this employer branding space, right? I mean, something which is very close to my heart. And I've been spending enormous amount of time. I've worked on the employer branding space for a long time during my stint in various organizations. And I've published a book on employer branding, which is called as Demystifying Employer Branding. I would strongly recommend all of you to go through that, and I would also take an effort to hand it over to multiple organization, institutes and all of that, so that it would have a wider reach. Now, in terms of when the students are spoiled with the choices, right, it becomes extremely difficult for them to take an informed decision. Here is where the employer branding comes into play. So technically what happens in the employer branding space is an organization would take an effort to come up with certain initiative where they would wanted to call out the certain value propositions, employee value propositions in the form of a message to the audience, right? And thereby positioning themselves as an employer of choice, right? It can be as simple as an alumni meet where they would identify certain alumni from an institute and take it back to the campus, and where the students will be able to connect and relate and all of that, right? Or they roll out certain programs where it would have a surround sound, or an organization would focus on 3-4 fundamental aspects, right? Showcase in terms of why it's a great place to learn, why it's a great place to grow, why it's a great place to have fun. So here what happens is every individual aspiration is very different. For an individual, I wanted to have a fast track career. I would choose an organization which would offer me a fast track career. There are organizations which would offer a great place to learn, right? Having a swanky infrastructure, offices, having swimming pool, having a gym, all of that, right? I mean, great cafeteria and all of that. Now, depends on an individual aspiration. Students would take an informed decision. So from an organization standpoint, they wanted to showcase what is their strength, whether they wanted to position themselves to be a technology-led organization, or the organization wanted to position themselves as an innovation-led organization, or there are organizations which kind of focus on inclusion and diversity, where the gender diversity is of paramount importance, people with disabilities, LGBT communities, parents at work from home, thereby providing a great workplace for an employee, right? So here what happens is when the employees or the students get to hear what are some of the great stuff which has been offered by an organization, based on that they will be able to take a informed decision.
Yeah.
Right? With that, of course, when something which you love, something which you are passionate about, is when they enjoy every day at the workplace.
Every day at workplace. Oh, that's very interesting to know. I mean, I personally know some companies who offer that kind of, have fun during work and, live your life well or learn quickly and things like that. So, with this, in this episode, we have Rajesh again, and thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for all your inputs and all your advices for our students. And with this, we are winding up today's episode, and tune into MANATV for more episodes.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.